Hey yo, have you ever been curious about how to discover your unique sound as a music producer? The thing that you cannot learn in a tutorial and the thing that will make your music instantly recognizable as its own? Well, if you have, we're going to talk about it in this video, so let's jump in. Hey yo, it's Alex from Metamind Music, and as always, with this channel, it's my mission to help you, the musician, the artist, the producer, produce themselves by developing their mindset, expanding their creativity, and connecting to their inner artist in a deeper way. And in this video, we're talking about unique sound. All right, so I have 5 tips to help you discover this unique sound for you today. But before we jump in, there's something I want to talk about that's very prevalent inside the music production space. So in the music production space, there's a ton of questions and inquiry of the nature of how to sound like X, or how to produce pro music to sound like this artist, or how to get a sound like this artist. And I'm not diminishing how important it is to learn new techniques and how to approach your music and art in different ways, get inspired by other people, but there's something inherently wrong with this type of pursuit. So there's this kind of mode of thinking that's very prevalent in the music production space of trying to achieve your own sound, a pro sound like this artist, achieve your goals in music as a music producer, in a music career, as an artist, all of these things through technical knowledge. It's almost like trying to arrest art, arrest the craft through a secret technique, through a secret approach, through dialing in just that right sound. And all of these things kind of point towards that technical knowledge is the epitome of the craft. And that is something that I think is not necessarily the truth. All right, and the problem with this is that all the technical knowledge in the world, so learning your EQ, your compressors, the mixing techniques, the pro tips, how to sound like this artist, how to EQ your kick drum, how to get lo-fi chords, all of this technical knowledge is kind of a fruitless pursuit in and of itself, because none of that stuff matters without some artistry behind it, right? Without that inspiration, right? Without having something that you want to say and something you truly feel, something you're excited about to express through these tools, the tools in and of themselves won't create great music. But as we move forward through these tips, I want you to keep an open mind that the map is not necessarily the territory, right? The tools that we use, the tips, the tricks, the approaches, they're useful, they're insightful, but they will never make the great music for you, right? So that's what we're going to talk about in this video, is like, where do we find the source material, the pure inspiration, the artistry that we can express through these tools to help you find that unique sound. All right, so tip number 1 is what I like to call the hierarchy of quality. And this is something that I teach to my students. And it's basically looking at various processes in music production and kind of stacking them on top of each other in terms of quality, in terms of importance, because a lot of people will fall into focusing on things that aren't necessarily the most important thing, especially if we're thinking about discovering a unique sound and having a unique artistic voice. So real quick, the hierarchy of quality is the gears at the bottom. Then on top of that is the processing techniques. So learning how to use your EQ, learning how to use your compressors, mixing techniques, all this kind of stuff. The next on top is the source sound. So recording high quality source sound, whether you're recording a guitar amp, whether you're using a software synth, whatever it is, you're just making sure that the sounds you're using are aligned with the vision of your whole musical project. So you don't have to go in there and tweak it as much and mix it as much, because it'll fit better naturally. Then on top of that is performance, so recording good vocal performances, guitar performances, whatever it may be, right? Some really expressive performances that are not robotic. They have humanness, they might have flaws, but they really translate some sort of emotion. And then on top of that is songwriting. And the reason why there's this hierarchy is because there are certain things in music production that are more important than others. And I'm not trying to diminish anything. I think that we have to learn all of these things and they all support each other. However, for example, if you don't have a great song that you're working with, if you're lacking in songwriting and performance, you're going to not be able to make up what's lacking there with a bunch of expensive gear, processing techniques. You see what I mean? Because those things, as important as they are, they don't make up the core of what the music is about, right? Think about it this way. You can easily outsource mixing. You can easily outsource renting a studio that has nice gear, but you cannot outsource songwriting, right? You cannot get someone else to write the music that you want to express your unique music for you. That's all on you. Another way to think about this is how many songs throughout history have stood the test of time of being amazing songs, but didn't necessarily have top-notch production, but the songwriting and the performance were top-notch. Another way to look at this is think of today. How many songs sound amazing? They sound polished, they sound complete, full spectrum, impactful, but there's no songwriting. It doesn't do anything for you. It just sounds like anything else, right? So all this to say is that to get a unique sound, to get something that's authentically you and to really start expressing something deeper through music, you're probably going to want to focus on songwriting and performance, which would be the top two things in this hierarchy. Right? And there's a wealth of information, of tips and tricks and approaches that you can use to write better music, to become a better performer. However, I don't really want to go over those in this video. What I want to encourage you to do is just to continue to make a lot of music, because the more music you make, the better and better you're going to get at writing songs, the better you're going to get at identifying what it is that your ear is drawn towards. There's nothing that's going to be more impactful than just taking massive action, because you're going to learn all the things that you have to learn to write great songs, what works together, what doesn't work together, where your artistic ear is bringing you, what kind of styles you like to mix together. All of those things are going to be learned from doing, from taking action. And I encourage you to take that approach instead of trying to look up tutorials of how to write a great song, how to do this, because yes, there are guidelines, but no one's going to be able to teach you what you'll learn by taking action and learning from your own experience, right? That form of knowledge is knowledge that only you can create by taking action. Another thing I encourage you to do is to make music in different genres than you're used to, right? So if you're only making like electronic EDM music, maybe try making some hip hop, maybe try making some different electronic genres. If you're only making metal, hard rock, something of that nature, maybe try exploring jazz, maybe try exploring electronic music. So whatever it is, I encourage you to explore different genres, because in playing around with different genres, what make them up, what you like about them, what you don't like about them, you'll start to be able to catalog and get a wider repertoire of what you can combine together to make something that's more unique than just sticking to one plain Jane vanilla genre. All right, number 2 is inspiration. So this is really leaning into what inspires you both within music and outside of music as well. Because if you think about it, there's no one on this planet that has the exact combination of unique things that have inspired you in your life. So this can be the music you grew up on, the music you love right now, the movies that have inspired you, the people who inspire you, right? The concepts that you hold dear to your heart, your beliefs, your unique life experience. All of these things point towards what will make you uniquely you and an authentic expression of you. And the more you can lean into this, the more you can actually identify these things, the more you'll become clear on what kind of things you can include in your music in a few different ways. Some people have some reservations towards actually identifying what influences them and what inspires them, because they think that they want to be completely unique, or that being inspired from other artists, other people is unoriginal. However, I invite you to think that probably every single artist ever was influenced by other artists, was influenced by other concepts, other people, other beliefs, other cultures. And I don't think that this is a bad thing. I think this is a beautiful thing. And no matter what influences you, no matter what you draw inspiration from, it will never change the fact that you will always be you regardless of what inspires you, right? So if we think about a few practical examples about this, think of like Daft Punk's Random Access Memories album, right? This is like an amazing album. It's influenced by the 60s, the 70s, the soul, the funk, and they had that intention going into the album. However, even though this album has those stylistic influences, it is undoubtedly Daft Punk, right? Another example of this is To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar. Like, this album goes all over the place. It has some jazz influence, some hip hop influence, some funk, some soul, even some crazy like experimental stuff, all baked into this album. However, it is Kendrick, right? It's undoubtedly Kendrick. And the fact that he's influenced by all of these different things on this album doesn't diminish the fact that it is uniquely him, right? Another example is Tame Impala's Inner Speaker, right? This album definitely gives a nod towards the Beatles, the psychedelic music of late 60s, early 70s. However, it does it in a modern twist. He has his own unique voice, and it just is him, although you can see where he's influenced, right? So all this to say is don't shy away from the things that influence you and the things that truly inspire you, because those things will probably help you actually develop what is uniquely you, what uniquely inspires you. A couple other things to think about in terms of getting more inspiration to find your unique sound, to find your authentic artistic voice, is to think about what unique story can you tell with your music. And this can be with lyrics, but this can also be just with sound, right? Storytelling with sound. And if you think back in your life, there's going to be some definite moments in your life, some crossroads, some obstacles, some breakthroughs that you've had in your journey that are uniquely tied to you. And if you can think about what that meant to you and think about how you can express that through your music, just that alone is completely uniquely you. Like no one else has lived in your shoes. It is your life. It is yours only. And there's a massive amount of inspiration you can draw from your own personal experience and bake within your music that will be authentically you. Another thing to think about when you're thinking about inspiration is think about your musical influences, right? Think about what got you into music. Like what kind of music were you into when you were a kid? What kind of music were your parents into? What kind of scene or community were you part of? What was the music that was playing in the background at those parties, right? Or at those hangouts with friends. And then think about all of the big artists that really impacted you in your life, that really resonated with you. And if you make a list of those things, you're going to constantly remind yourself of the things that are important to you and that actually resonate with you and make up your musical taste and make up your artistic ear. And the more and more you focus on that, you're going to be able to draw from that when you're getting in a creative space in the studio. All right, number 3 is don't be scared to experiment. And this goes hand in hand with trying different genres, trying different ideas, but it kind of bleeds into the idea of not being scared. All right, don't be scared to make mistakes. Don't be scared to try things that don't work. Don't be scared to make a mismatch of genres that doesn't work. All of those things are just fear presenting themselves in another way, right? And this is one thing I've learned in my journey is that the more you consciously and intentionally change your process, right? If you tweak the methodology in which you approach making a song, creating an idea, moving a track forward, you're going to change the result. And the more you learn about the relationship between changing your approach, changing the method, the process, and how that affects the result in a positive or negative way, and how much it engages you in the process is huge. This is a huge thing that I teach to my students. And it's a great thing to think about because if you're always taking the same approach, making the same style of music, never experimenting, it's really going to narrow in your vision and it's going to limit your creativity. It's going to limit the voice and what can come out of you creatively if you limit yourself in the same way every time. However, if you change the parameters of your limitations and you are not scared to experiment, you allow yourself to try something new, you're going to realize that it's going to open so many more doors for your creativity, and you're going to stumble upon things that are amazing that you would have never thought of in advance. And this is another example of the map of what we think isn't necessarily the territory, right? Because doing the thing, trying different methodologies, experimenting with different genres, slapping different things together. Yes, you might make stuff that doesn't sound great, that you're not happy with. However, you will inevitably fall upon something that sounds amazing to you, right? A great combination. And the thing is, in hindsight, you would have never thought of that without doing it, right? You would have never thought of that unless you change your approach, change your process, changed your methods. And this is a great pathway that can help you discover your unique sound because as you experiment with different things, try different things, you're not scared, you're fearless, you're having fun, you're inevitably going to find things that attract your musical ear. You'll be like, oh, that's an interesting combination. Ooh, I really like the sound of this. And the more you do that, the more you're going to realize where your artistic ear brings you. What are the things you typically notice that you like, right? And that will help inform you as to what your unique style might be, what your unique artistic voice is attracted to. And experimenting is a great way to get there. So a few other ways to think about how you can actually experiment with your music is to collaborate with other people. You can expand your listening. So listen to music that you've never listened to before. Go out of your way to find genres you've never heard of, right? Go to the extremes, right? Go to like Dillinger Escape Plan, crazy progressive metal. Go to ambient electronic music like John Hopkins, right? Go to video game music, scores for films, whatever it is, try to expand your horizons, because the more you expand your horizons, the more you'll be able to identify the things you like or the elements that you like within genres you maybe don't care for. Because if you think about it, a lot of huge artists have made their sound by combining other sounds together, right? That's what makes them unique, is combining unique sounds together to make something different. So I encourage you to play around with different genres and things you love, even concepts, ideas, beliefs that you really hold dear to. How can you translate that into music and combine them in new and interesting ways? All right, so number 4 is pretty self-explanatory, but I thought I would include it, is to think about what makes you unique, right? So what are your unique strengths? What are your unique interests? And what are the things that you identify with that will actually inform some of your stylistic choices? Right? So take some time to think about it. Do you have some unique interests or unique hobbies that are uncommon? Do you play a musical instrument? What kind of musical background do you have? What other creative pursuits do you have? What other things do you enjoy doing? The more you can identify your unique experiences, your unique strengths, and your unique interests, if you combine those together, you're going to find that you have a pretty unique combination of different things. So for example, for me, I come from a background of playing guitar. I've been playing guitar for 10 years. I played in bands, prog rock bands, metal bands. So I'm a guitarist, right? I'm very familiar with the guitar. I'm very comfortable with the guitar. So another unique thing about me is I'm a huge nerd. So I love video games. I love storytelling. I love narrative building, world building. I love getting into the nitty gritty of Ableton and sequencing and learning about all that stuff. And I also love philosophy and psychology, like esoteric principles and like ancient wisdom, and really trying to enhance my understanding of myself and the world around me through that means. So that creates a kind of unique combination. How can I combine all of these things together? My love for video games, my love for like Ableton and nerdy music stuff, my guitar and rock background, as well as philosophies and ancient concepts that I resonate with. So that's just an example, but I invite you to think about that for yourself, and you'll undoubtedly find something very unique. And then if you can try to bridge that together with the music you make, you're on to something. All right, and tip number 5 is something a little bit more practical, and that is to save any presets, any channel strips, any devices, any settings, any effects, any tone settings, pedal settings, and start to catalog the things that you can go back towards that will help you jumpstart into a direction of your unique sound. And this is especially useful for a music project such as an EP or an album, is that typically you'll find a specific palette of sounds that you'll use to create a bunch of songs. And that palette of sounds is what I'm talking about. If you can have specific effects and sounds you've designed, presets you found that you like, samples that you like, tones, amp settings that you really like, that really get the sounds that you like right now, the more you can save those things, the easier it will be on you to recall those things and get creative really fast. And it's going to already start to sound familiar to you. And saving stuff like this isn't meant to pigeonhole you into any kind of sound, but it's great to keep a catalog of these types of sounds as you move forward and experiment and create new sounds, discover new things that inspire you. But you're going to have that catalog to constantly refer back to if ever you get stuck, if ever you're not sure where to go, or if you just want to start a track really quick and get into the right sonic universe for your unique sound. And hey, if you're just getting started with music production and feeling completely overwhelmed by the process, or if you've been at this for a while but you're having trouble finishing tracks, or hey, if you just want to get a glimpse inside my personal workflow, which could turn into your personal workflow as you tweak and refine it to help you find your unique and original sound, I've created a super easy to follow 7-step framework that helps you go from your very first ideas to arranging a song, to mixing it, to mastering it, so you can finish songs consistently. And as you finish more and more songs, it'll help you learn every part of the process better, and it will also help you discover your authentic and unique sound as you start to pick out the things that really inspire you and that you really resonate with. So if you're interested in grabbing that, I have it in the description below. All right, and that wraps it up for this video. That was my top 5 tips to help you discover your authentic and unique voice within music production. If you like this video, give me a like. If you want to stay in tune with all of the future Metamind music transmissions, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And let me know, where are you on your music production journey? Have you found your unique sound? Are you still in the process of discovering it? Or do you still find yourself copying everybody else? I'd love to know in the comments below. And until the next video, we'll talk to you later.